The courier arrived just after sunrise, a tall man in a pressed uniform carrying an envelope that looked far too elegant for ordinary mail. Gold edges, embossed lettering, my sister Victoria's name printed in a looping, expensive script. Inside, an invitation, white, heavy cardstock that smelled faintly of perfume and privilege. Victoria was hosting her daughter Sophia's Sweet 16 at the Meridian, a venue so exclusive that even the deposit could buy a used car. The invitation wasn't addressed to me personally. It was more of an announcement than a welcome. At the bottom, a polite afterthought in Victoria's tidy handwriting read, "We have a strict head count for the party, but we'd love to see you at the brunch the next day." Nothing personal. A hierarchy disguised as hospitality. The wealthy would toast and dance beneath chandeliers, while the rest of us would gather later to watch them unwrap the rewards of that wealth over lukewarm coffee. Still, I went. I always went. At 11 sharp the next morning, I arrived at Mom's house. The smell of catered bagels, imported jam, and expensive coffee filled the air. The walls were lined with silver-framed photos of family smiles that had aged better than some relationships. Victoria opened the door herself. White linen dress, gold jewelry, makeup flawless, hair salon perfect. Even her perfume seemed expensive. She smiled the way people do when they're performing warmth. "Glad you could make it," she said, stepping aside. The living room had been transformed into a miniature theater. Chairs arranged in a half-circle faced a single large, throne-like chair where Sophia sat, still in last night's glittering dress, tiara slightly askew but proud. Around her towered piles of neatly stacked designer boxes, bags and ribbons, names like Gucci, Prada, Cartier, labels I'd only ever seen in magazines. Mom sat at the front, misty-eyed, hands clasped in delight. Victoria's husband, Marcus, stood behind the camera tripod, recording every movement like this was a royal ceremony. "Sit in the back," Victoria told me, gesturing toward a folding chair near the kitchen. The real guests should be visible in the photos. Her tone was light, practiced, the kind that made cruelty sound like logistics. Sophia began opening gifts. First a Gucci handbag, then a pair of Louboutin heels, then diamond earrings from Mom and Dad. Each announcement was met with applause. Marcus filmed. Victoria narrated. I watched. My own gift, a hand-bound leather journal with an engraved pen, sat alone on a side table, far from the mountains of designer boxes. It looked small there, unimportant, and I realized that was the point. "This is from the Hendersons," Victoria said, lifting a signature Tiffany blue box. "They couldn't make it to the party last night, but they wanted Sophia to know they were thinking of her. The Hendersons, absent but celebrated. Their names announced with gratitude. I, present but invisible, remained by the kitchen. After the 20th gift, Victoria clapped her hands. "Break time," she said, ushering guests toward the dining room where servers had laid out trays of smoked salmon and mimosas. I rose to join them, but Victoria stepped in front of me, smiling tightly. "Actually," she said, "there's a small issue with seating. We planned for a very specific number. You understand." Her tone carried the same kind of polite venom as before. There were obviously enough seats, rows of them, but this wasn't about space. "You can't join the brunch," she said more loudly now, voice carrying for the room to hear. We had a very specific budget. Every seat was accounted for. Mom appeared from the dining room, a plate in her hand. "Victoria's right, dear," she said softly. "These events are expensive. You can't really afford the entry fee anyway, so it's better to just watch." The air went still. Conversations faded. Forks stopped clinking. Even Marcus's camera kept rolling, its red light blinking like a witness. "The entry fee?" I repeated, unsure I'd heard right. Victoria nodded. "It's $200 per person. That's what we're paying for catering, the decorations, the whole event. If you want to participate fully, you'd need to contribute your share. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fair to the guests who paid." "I wasn't invited to pay," I said quietly. She waved the comment away. "Oh, don't be dramatic. It's nothing personal, just economics. I see. I'm glad you understand." She smiled, already turning away. "Maybe for Sophia's graduation, you'll be in a better position to contribute." Through the doorway, laughter floated from the dining room. They talked about last night, The live band, the ice sculpture, the designer desserts shaped like roses. I sat there for half an hour in my folding chair, invisible in my own family's home. The sound of clinking glasses and laughter rolled on like music from another world, and I realized, in that silence, that I finally understood my place in this family. Polite distance, measured pity, and no real inclusion. Then the doorbell rang. Mom went to answer it. A woman's professional, upbeat voice carried through the hall. "Hello, I'm looking for Mr. James Patterson." "I was told he's here." Mom sounded puzzled. "That's my son. He's in the living room." A moment later, the woman stepped inside, perfectly composed, tablet in hand, her badge reading Jennifer Walsh, Prestige Events Management. "Mr. Patterson," she said, smiling at me. "Sorry to interrupt, but we have a few final details to confirm for the Sophia Morrison event." Victoria appeared in the doorway, her smile faltering. "I'm sorry, what?" Jennifer turned politely. "I'm Jennifer Walsh from Prestige Events Management. We handled the event last night." "I know who you are," Victoria said sharply. "We paid you." "Why are you here?" Jennifer checked her tablet. "Actually, Mrs. Morrison, you didn't. Your deposit was refunded 2 weeks ago. The full amount was paid by Mr. Patterson." Silence hit the room like a dropped plate. "That's not possible," Victoria said, her voice thinning. "We paid for that party. It was our gift to Sophia." Jennifer's voice stayed calm. "I have the contracts here. Mr. Patterson contacted us 4 months ago. He covered all expenses. Venue fee, $12,000. Catering for 150 guests. $180 per person. Band, $5,000. Floral arrangements, $3,000. Photography, $4,000. Total cost, $68,400. Marcus lowered his camera. Victoria blinked, mouth opening, but no words coming. "But we wrote checks." "They were refunded," Jennifer said kindly. "Mr. Patterson requested anonymity. He wanted you to feel ownership of the event." Victoria turned to look at me, really look at me, for the first time all morning. "68,000? She whispered. "Plus the tip for the staff," I added softly. "They did excellent work." Her eyes flicked toward my folding chair, my corner by the kitchen. "But you said you couldn't afford the $200 entry fee?" I finished. "You're right. I couldn't justify that, not after spending $68,000 on the party itself." Jennifer scrolled on her tablet. "Actually, Mr. Patterson, we still need your approval for the final invoices, the floral delivery to Mrs. Morrison's home, $1,800, and the premium album package for the event photographer." "The leather-bound one," I said. "Sophia should have something lasting." Victoria's friends had crept from the dining room, plates forgotten, eyes wide. The air was thick with the kind of silence that only truth can bring. Mom finally spoke, voice small. "James, if you had that money, why didn't you say something?" I looked at her, then at Victoria, then at the rows of polished faces watching me. When Victoria said I couldn't afford to be here, when you agreed, when you all decided that my place was near the kitchen, what exactly was I supposed to say? Marcus set down the camera. "This has to be some kind of joke." "I assure you it isn't," Jennifer replied smoothly. "Mr. Patterson is one of our platinum clients. We've worked with him for 3 years. 3 years? Victoria repeated faintly. "Since he sold his software company," Jennifer added before catching herself. "Oh, my apologies, I assumed the family knew." Mom's eyes widened. "You sold a company?" 2 years ago, I said. "For how much?" Victoria asked, voice trembling. "Enough," I replied evenly. "That I don't have to worry about $200 entry fees." Jennifer cleared her throat. "Mr. Patterson, one final detail, the photographs. You requested that copies be sent to all family members. Should I proceed?" I looked around the room. Victoria, pale and speechless. Mom, stunned. Marcus, rigid behind his camera. Sophia, still on her throne, phone forgotten in her lap. And the guests who had watched my quiet humiliation like it was entertainment. "Yes," I said. "Send them to everyone. They should all have memories of the party I paid for. The one I wasn't allowed to attend." "That's not fair," Victoria said weakly. We didn't know. If you'd known, I said quietly, you would have treated me differently. And that's exactly the problem. Mom reached for me. James, please, we made a mistake. We just thought... You thought I was broke, I said. So you treated me like I was worthless. Like watching your daughter open presents was a privilege I should be grateful for. Like a folding chair in the kitchen was all I deserved. Her voice broke. It wasn't like that. I looked at her, at all of them, and realized it was exactly like that. Victoria protested. Then what was it like? Explain it to me. Explain how you decided your brother couldn't attend his niece's party, couldn't eat at the brunch, needed to understand his place in the family hierarchy. Sophia finally spoke, her voice small. Uncle James paid for my party. All of it, I said. The dress you're wearing, the venue, the band you and your friends love so much. Everything. Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't know. I didn't even thank you. You didn't know there was anything to thank me for. Your mother made sure of that. Jennifer glanced between us. Should I? This seems like a family matter. Perhaps I should come back. No, I said you came for approval on the final invoices. The flowers are fine. The album is fine. Send me the total and I'll transfer payment this week. Of course, Mr. Patterson, she hesitated. For what it's worth, the event was beautiful. The guests are still talking about it. Your niece should feel very celebrated. She should. I agreed. That was the point. After Jennifer left, the silence in the living room felt thick. Victoria's friends made quiet excuses and disappeared, leaving half-eaten bagels on their plates. Marcus retreated to the kitchen. Sophie remained in her chair, tears streaming down her face. Mom tried again. James, we need to talk about this. Do we? What is there to talk about? You made your position clear. I couldn't afford to participate, so I should watch from the sidelines. Those were your exact words. I was wrong, she whispered. Yes, you were. Both of you were. I looked at Victoria. You wanted to give Sophia a memorable party. You succeeded. She'll remember that her uncle paid for everything and wasn't invited. That her mother decided family was less important than optics. That's a lasting lesson. Please don't do this, Victoria said. We can fix this. Fix what? The party's over. The gifts are opened. The hierarchy's been established. I stood moving toward the door. You got exactly what you wanted. A perfect event. Perfectly documented. Perfectly excluding anyone who didn't meet your standards. You're being unfair, Victoria said. Am I? You excluded me from a party I paid for because you didn't think I belonged there. Now I'm excluding myself from a family that doesn't think I'm worth a seat at the table. Seems perfectly fair to me. Sophia's voice stopped me at the door. Uncle James, I'm sorry. I should have asked why you weren't at the party. I should have noticed. I turned back. She looked young suddenly, despite the expensive dress and the pile of designer gifts. Just a kid caught in the middle of adult conflicts. It's not your fault, I said gently. None of this is your fault. I hope you had a wonderful party that was real regardless of everything else. Will you come to my graduation? She asked. I don't know, I said honestly. That depends on whether your mother sends me a real invitation or tells me to wait in the kitchen. I left them there surrounded by designer gifts, catered food, and the wreckage of their assumptions. My own gift, the journal and pen, still sat on the side table near the kitchen, unopened and overlooked. Outside, the sun was bright, warm. I pulled out my phone and called Jennifer back. The album package. I said when she answered, upgrade it to the deluxe. Add a second copy for Sophia to take to college. She should have good memories, even if the family gathering afterward was complicated. Of course, Mr. Patterson. Anything else? I thought about Victoria's face when she realized who paid for everything. About Mom's assumption that I couldn't afford basic participation in family events. About all the times I've been measured and found wanting because they couldn't see past their own definitions of success. No, I said that's everything. I drove home to my apartment, the one they pity because it wasn't a house in the suburbs. It was downtown with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of Thessaly. I paid cash for it. They'd never asked to see it. That evening, my phone buzzed with messages. Victoria apologizing, Mom explaining. Mark is trying to rationalize. I let them accumulate unread. Sophia's message was different. Thank you for my party. I'm sorry I didn't see you. I'm sorry they didn't see you. The journal is beautiful. It's the gift I'll actually use. She found it, opened it while everyone else was dealing with the aftermath. I wrote back, use it to write your own story. Don't let anyone else tell you what you can and can't afford to be. She replied immediately, can I still call you? Even if Mom and Grandma are weird about everything, always I typed, Family isn't about who throws the party. It's about who shows up when it matters. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then you showed up, even when they told you not to. I smiled at my phone at this kid who was starting to understand things her mother still couldn't see. That's what uncles do. We show up, pay for things quietly, and sit near the kitchen when we're told we're not good enough for the dining room. That's not fair. No, I agreed. It's not. But now you know. Now you'll do better. The messages from the others kept coming. Explanations, justifications, requests to talk. Isolinced the mall and looked out at Thessity lights at the life I built that nobody bothered to ask about. I paid $68,000 for a party I wasn't invited to. The joke was on me, probably. Except it wasn't really a joke. It was a choice. To show love in the only way they'd understand. To give Sophia something beautiful. Even if it meant watching from outside. The entry fee, Toria had said, was $200. She'd been wrong about that. Like she'd been wrong about so much else. The real entry fee to that family was being invisible enough to ignore and visible enough to blame. I paid it for years in silence, in small humiliations and chairs near the kitchen. But I was done paying now. The party was over.